Yo, what's up? Welcome to this unloaded show. Myself, Stephen Ferris, John Barclay, and after a great performance last week, coming off the bench, made a career out of it. Bobby Skinstad. I love the background you got there, Bobby.
Thanks very much, Ben.
Or are you in a cupboard? I can't tell.
No. This is a street cafe in Hale near Manchester. So very sort of laissez-faire outdoor dining. Thanks, Shanks.
I think we need.
Are you in a garden? Are you in a garden shed? What are you in?
A sauna. An evening sauna. Jonathan Davis told me it's always good for you. We should change location, boys, shouldn't we? I mean, to be honest, John, I'm sick of seeing that green wallpaper now. Initially, I liked it, and now
we've got to do it together, don't we? Get in a pub and do it together.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we need to do.
Couldn't fit the audience in though. It's too big.
Oh no. Yeah. Well, saying that, Bob, if anyone's got any questions, please put them on YouTube, tweet them in. The show is going live. We'll do our best to answer them. Fez, how are you? How's your back? Last time I spoke, you're in trouble. Are the anti-inflams kicked in now?
Yeah, a lot better. Thanks, Shank. I played golf this morning. Lovely. Played. There's a second course at Royal Portrush, which is Graham McDowell's course called the Valley. So I played it. It's a little bit shorter, but it's a little tighter. But I'm glad I played that one because it was 30, 40 miles per hour winds. So, but it was good fun, good crack. Nice little bit of lunch, and then of course back here a little bit of homework, and then straight in to get to chat to you boys. So life's good.
I played golf last Thursday on a golf day, and Austin Healy was there, and I saw this golf buggy coming out the corner of my eye. I was sat like on the 18th, just outside the 18th, in a wicker chair. I thought this it's going to stop now. It's going to stop now. He drove straight into my chair and knocked me flying off, and like everyone was laughing. Like I just didn't know what to do. I was like, oh. And he's like high-fiving everyone. He said the accelerator stuck. So when he went to the bar, I went to his golf bag. I found his putter, and I meant to bend it, but I snapped it by accident. Put the putter head back on.
Hate crime.
On Tuesday, he was playing Royal Portrush. and he texted me, I think, on the way there when he's checking out his clubs. So I hope you got a good lawyer. So
good effort, Shanks.
Yeah, well, it's actually the first time I've ever broken a club. They break
someone else's
easily.
Is okay.
Yeah. Anyway, well, we were meant to have Jake White on, but he's come down with an illness. So hopefully we'll catch up with him in further weeks. Have any of you boys ever pulled a sickie to go out of training?
No.
No, I don't think so.
I did once. I was on a stag do.
Actually, no.
I was in Krakow on a stag do, and the plane got cancelled, and I had to go back the next day, and I had to ring and say, right, I think I've got one of these 24-hour things. I should be all right Tuesday.
The old 24-hour bug.
The old 24-hour bug.
Yeah, I went on Ryan Wilson's stag do, and I knew it was on. There was the Sunday was the big day in Monaco, and I just phoned Wayne Pivac and told him the flight had been delayed. So I flew back up on Tuesday. He was fine with it.
Yeah, sure. You won the league that year, probably anyway, didn't you?
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
Papered up the cracks.
Everything's easy when you're winning, isn't it? What an end to the season, Bob. Did you enjoy it?
I did. I think I was always hoping that it would get better. The momentum came from the South African sides at the end, and I think all of the games were crackers to watch. There was a lot to play for. It was pretty tense watching. We needed Stormers needed some extra points to get a home semi-final in Cape Town, which I felt was quite important for the tournament because I want a lot of people to visit South Africa and see that South Africa are going to give as good as they get. Now Edinburgh got to go there, but I think it'll be good for the game. So I think the best team are in number one, and then there's a jumble of the others. But I genuinely felt it was a cracking weekend to finish the rounds of the tournament.
Fez, there was a little bit of chat from Toby Booth to say that is a bit unfair. All games should be played at the same time, a bit like Premier League. What are your thoughts on that? To make a difference?
I don't think so. I think everybody likes to enjoy the rugby spread out across the weekend. So, like ourselves, we can enjoy game by game and see how the whole weekend unfolds. I think Toby Booth just, I don't know what he's trying to get at there. Maybe he's just looking at a bit more of drama towards the end of the season. Maybe people do want a little bit more drama when it's coming down, and a bit like the Premier League where there's people on their phones in the crowd seeing what the score is and many points they have to get to leapfrog somebody else. But no, I think it worked out extremely well. We all knew who was going to be in the top 8. It was just who was going to win the Shields. And I know I'll maybe show a couple of photographs, lads, of I'm sure there's nothing better in professional rugby to win the Shield and raise it above your head with your teammates around you, really enjoying the night.
Just glad to confirm that Bobby Skinstad's wearing trousers there. Thanks for that little view, Bob.
I apologise. I was plugging in the headphones and I wasn't thinking.
Right, we'll start with the weekend's rugby chat. Stevie, Bobby, you're at the first game that we're going to cover. Ulster 24, Sharks 21. Bobby, Sharks came back in possibly a little bit too late, though, in the game.
The Sharks were poor. I mean, I said to Stevie at the time, I probably moaned my way through the commentary. The Sharks only played 4 or 5 good minutes of rugby, but were still in it. I felt that they had much more to offer. They were poor in execution. They made bad strategic decisions. I felt that Ulster were good but not great. I think Ulster could be much better, and Ulster closed them out and won the game. So well done to them. But I felt that the Sharks, I don't know, maybe the travel. We were trying to find out why. Stevie and I said they were dropping balls. They were missing their own lineouts. They were the outside in rush on the tackle was working. But if Ulster had finished off 2 or 3 of those passes, I think there was an early one to Balakoon on the outside, he would have canted in around under the poles, but it ended up being a forward pass. So Sharks could have been in much more trouble if Ulster had executed it better. But they kept themselves in the game, and then it was squeaky bum time for Ulster at the end because they looked like they could score tries at will. Williams was brilliant, came off the bench. I know he's a player with some serious pedigree, but I didn't realize he had wheels like that. I mean, wow, he was outstanding.
Yeah, Bobby, just on the game, and looking back on the game, the impact of the subs for the Sharks made so much of a difference. But why did Oxneash was on the ground? It looked like he had been taken out by a sniper 5 or 6 times in the space of 10 or 15 minutes, and he wasn't being substituted. Is that because the coaching staff have no faith in the younger guys who come on, or are they trying to get more game time into their big players' legs? Or are you like me and a little bit puzzled by the whole thing?
I am a bit puzzled. I mean, your guess in a way is as good as mine on that, because I haven't had a direct answer. Although I've asked the question, it came through that all of the senior players were struggling with cramp. So I don't know, maybe dehydration because of the plane flight and a bit of travel, etc. But for 5 or 6, I mean, we saw Sia Khaleesi went down. We saw, like you said, Ox was down 5 or 6 times in front of us. I thought it was an Achilles injury at the beginning, but it just turned out it was a bad cramp. So I'm not sure why they didn't replace them, but maybe they were playing through and needed some yards or miles on the legs. I think they would definitely have done better if they'd actually brought on a shift of players earlier on in that game.
Do you think Ulster were that good? Sorry, I was going to say, do you think Ulster were that good? I thought Ulster probably played one of their best games, but then you look at the opposition, as we're talking about, weren't fantastic. But I think when I've been quite critical of Ulster this year. We know they've got a good maul. When that doesn't work, what do they do? But I think it shows me when they get in behind defenses and they can get their offload game going, they're pretty good. But without that, I don't think they're pushing for the title if they're unable to get through that first line.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, John. And I think the up and in defense of the Sharks just wasn't good enough. the organisation wasn't good enough. My Pimpy got caught in no man's land a few times. Bobby was talking about some of the big players with cramp. Like Mbonambi was, I don't think he carried the ball the whole game. Van Vuren come on and done exceptionally well. Like there's McCluskey, that's Fassi the fullback who can run all day and has pace to burn, but you got to tackle the big man down low. It's just a lovely bit of skill, a real whip pass. My Pimpy, I think it is, who makes a bad read, gets caught, and it's really well finished off. There's 3 or 4 players that could have finished off that guy. So James Hume, Stuart McCluskey in the centres. There's chat about now after that game that they're potentially going to go on the tour this summer to New Zealand, and they could be running out against the New Zealand Maori in the summer. That'll be a really good combination. I'd love to see that, see how that goes. Obviously 5 huge games out there, but I agree with John. I think there's ways to negate this Ulster side. When you have the ball, you have to be direct. You cannot just keep going one-out runners, folding around the corner, then go a couple of passes trying to get a bit of width, then come back into the heavy traffic again. Like Ulster barely put a player into the breakdown, apart from Nick Timoney getting after the ball 3 or 4 times in the game. It was just tackle, back on the feet, reload, white wall, like every single time. And the couple of times that the Sharks did go direct, pack the tail of the line out, hard runners, short balls through the middle of the breakdown a couple of times. They made ground. I think that Ulster are going to come unstuck later on in the competition.
Bobby, what was the ref like? We've had a question from Sean Bowman. Said the ref was pretty poor.
Yeah, don't get me started. Look, I don't want to jump in and pile in on the ref, but I'm going to take it from perspective of what Stevie said.
We do it every week.
The rucks were a mess. The rucks were a circus, an absolute circus. And what Stevie said, even in commentary, he said, I don't know why the Sharks aren't driving the ball up the guts, taking it up the middle, take on Ulster physically. Because, even the contestable ball on the ground, the referee was like, yes, you can take it, or no, you can't. Or, he was sort of guiding the guys. It was an absolute mess. And I would imagine any loose forward in watching that game would say, look, I'm just going to get away with whatever I can. If the ref gives me the opportunity to disrupt the Sharks go forward ball, I'm going to do it all day. I mean, John, you would have done it. Stevie, you would have done it. There's no ways that can be policed that same way around quarterfinals and semi-finals time, and there won't be an uproar because I think it affected the game.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I didn't see the whole game. I watched the highlights, but I forwarded it to the best bit, which was the post-match niggle with I mean, I think we found the only person in rugby that has an issue with you, Bob. He didn't like your question.
Well, unfortunately, the question is the question. I gave the Sharks 4 out of 10, and they came within 3 points. What do you give the home team? It's not. I'm not putting anyone on the spot. I'm saying, like, if Ulster were at 10 and the Sharks were at 10, I think Ulster would have won. But Ulster weren't at 10. What were they at? It's just a gentle question. And my fellow panelists. But remember, I was reeling after having my name being dragged through the mud by the Premier Sports Group, and having bare-chested photographs of myself on national television. So I was in a bad place mentally.
That's not what you told me on the way up the commentary. You said you were delighted with those pictures.
PR.
Exactly, all PR. No, look,
just on that,
I believe it's not a bad question.
Just on that, Bobby, like, we've interviewed Dan McFarlane a couple of times, and in fairness to him, he always comes over. He's always willing to give his time, which is great.
He's a great guy.
But he comes across as a smart arse. That's the way. So when you ask him a question, he never directly answers the question, and it comes across
clip this bit like the social.
Please. Yeah, get this clip up. Look, I get on well with Dan. He'd probably say exactly the same thing about me, but that's just the way it comes across. And anybody who's works in the media, whether you're Trimby or you're Marshy or you lads, he just comes across a bit like.
Maybe that was it.
You were like a field mouse. You were. I know, like a field mouse. You didn't back him up at all.
No, but maybe that was it.
Really quiet in the back. Excuse me.
I genuinely wasn't trying to put him
Like
on
Hooks
the
from Police Academy.
I wasn't trying to put him on the spot, but I think maybe he felt that I was, and you know, the nub of it was the Sharks weren't at 10 out of 10. Ulster weren't either, but what was it? And he didn't want to be cornered on that, so that's okay. I mean, my mind was, if the Sharks come back next week, what do they have to get out of 10 to beat your team? That's all I was thinking. Yeah.
Well, we'll get on to the fixtures towards the end. Next game up was Ospreys v the Bulls. I was there. Again, I thought the breakdowns were a mess, but super impressed by the Bulls, especially their pack. Hendricks won man of the match. He scored 3 tries. He was class all the way through that game. He must be 30 something now. I think maybe 33. That's just a great line. Very common line, but picks out really lazy defenders who are ball watching. Same again. That is actually quite a difficult move to defend. I know it looks simple, but you've got so many options there of players coming round, carrying, players short. This one was a real classy finish. I didn't think he's going to have enough in the tank to get there, but really good dive. Gets his legs in the air well. I think Luke Morgan can't get across to him, and he was a massive difference. But just the carrying game from the Bulls,
so physical.
Yeah,
I think they did what we were saying. The Sharks should have tried to do to Ulster. They were more physical up front, and then the backs could finish. You know what became
Scrum was good.
Yeah.
Set piece looked pretty good. The driving line out looked pretty good. The biggest thing though in that game was Bulls were way ahead, comfortably ahead, but with 2 minutes to go, an intercept's thrown. Luke Morgan snaps it out. Like they're all over the Ospreys at this period now. That is a great read. And such an important.
But it looked like he was already in the Bulls' backline. I mean, he was facing the other way to catch that ball. I mean, they should never have spun that pass. They should have kept the ball in hand.
Yeah, massively. He's thought about that. And he's thrown it before he's even seen it. But it was huge because that gave them 2 points. You know, that gave them to get within 7 and a bonus point for scoring a try.
That's trophy tails, isn't it? Isn't that
they won the league, didn't they, afterwards or something?
Scarlets got a point for finishing within
there we
7.
There we go.
Lads.
I mean
that's proper. You know, where's the champagne? Where's the confetti?
It's the same for all the Shield winners. I know, like Edinburgh at the same.
Oh, mate, it's shocking. We'll get that later. Embarrassing. That's
lads, Shanks, you know a few of those boys. Are they taking the piss with that, or are they being genuinely like celebrating?
I don't know, because a few of them look like they're in fancy dress. I'm not really. I'm not.
That's normal. That's normal going out here in Wales, Shanks.
I don't know. I'd love to think it was them taking the piss. Like, I'd love to think, right,
I hope so.
Let's pretend we won the league when we finish 9th through to Europe. But I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Because you get
Edinburgh boys. You see what
Shield
to win with the Shield. You know, the old Spartans 300 things. They've got someone to hold it in front of their eyes like that. They're all pissing themselves. Then they lift the hubcap above their heads. Crap.
Yeah. Well, anyway, really impressed by the Bulls. Ospreys just did enough to get into top tier Europe competition next week. Scarlets v Stormers. John, I love saying this. Your old club.
My old club.
Can say it 3 times on this show.
Yeah, Scarlets were good. I thought Scarlets played well. Like, you know, they're going to play well at home in this time of year. I still think there's lots of flaw to their game. Like, defensively, you see there, that's a pretty soft try. Liam Williams missed an intercept at 10-0, which would have taken to 17-0. Like, I think Scarlets and Ospreys probably finished up where they deserve to in the table. You could have flipped them either side, but when you know you need to win at home against Stormers. You have to win now. You've seen the result, and it was just too easy at times. So I think there's a bit of a ways to go for Scarlet still. They're missing power. I think, like all the Welsh regions up front, I think they get bullied up front, especially by big teams. Like the Stormers don't even have the biggest.
Look at Joe Roberts here. Joe Roberts can't get across. He's gone.
But yeah, I thought there's some good stuff. I thought Gareth Davis' kick for the first try The finish is quality. There's some real nice touches in there. Ryan Combier, I don't know, just quality for me. Been one of their best players this year. Young lad. He's about 5'6", and he's Stevie's had enough. We're not talking about Ulster anymore. But no,
he's putting on another show.
Yeah, that's it on Netflix. I like the Storm. I like watching the Stormers play. Like they look. Evan Roos wasn't quite as angry as he's been all year.
He's still great, mate. I think he's a brilliant player.
He carries the ball time and time again. Yeah, mate. They're, for me, the team like Leinster are out and out favourites, but the Stormers definitely the second best team in the league. Ones to watch for moving forward.
There's only one man I feel sorry for. Reece Patchell. He came off the bench. They started with Costello. He's in the Welsh squad, and I think he's going to play quite a role within that. Whether he's coming on for Dan Bigham, maybe they might look at him at 12, but probably defensively he's not quite there. But his distribution is brilliant. It's really good. It's up there with the best in Wales, and looked like he pulled his hamstring, had to come off.
Yeah, he was on and then off. Thanks. Can we? I mean, we don't have to go into much depth, but how did Costello get back on to kick at the end of that thing? What was because we were in the studio and I had a conversation with you, and you said, I completely condone it as long as it doesn't affect the outcome of the game. But that's like cheating at golf, which is okay if you still lose. I'm not sure that works.
Mediocre mid-table is what you want in golf. You don't want to finish last, do you? You want to be mid-table with quite a few gimmies. Get this, lads. Obviously, we're in the studio. Food is provided. I had a lovely time. Bobby, nothing. No biscuits. No sweets.
Coffee.
Because I had a couple.
Plugged himself into the mains. Is what he did.
Shanks has done 4 chocolate donuts before the end of the first section. Before we've interviewed a coach, he's done 4 chocolate donuts, and then asked the guys to come from downstairs with the restaurant menu for the Thai restaurant down the road.
I'm not having the wings again. It was all over my face and my fingers. It was horrific.
He skipped straight past all the vegetable stuff and gone for whatever's deep fried on the Thai menu, starting from there. Thank you very much.
Anyway, what happened was one of us goes off. Was it? I can't remember who gets injured. I think it was Reece. No, it was Johnny Williams gets injured. Yeah,
Johnny Williams
gets injured. It looks like he's holding his wrist. Yes. Yeah, Johnny Williams is holding his wrist.
So he went off for an HIA.
There was no more backs to come on, but you're allowed to bring a back on if there's an HIA. You can't bring a back on who's gone off. So Sam Costello was going to come back on only if there's an HIA. So I don't know whether they're bending the rules there or not, or he actually had a.
But I hope Johnny Williams' head has got better. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. I'd like to think that they did it correctly. So
of course,
I'm always glass half full. You know that.
Now, can we go back to that golf tournament that you said you won the other day? Were there 10-foot gimmies in this thing, Stevie? We got to watch out if we ever play golf against Shank.
Oh, he's a shark. He is a shark.
I was on the tee on a par 3, and someone said you could have that. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
Put it in my pocket.
My first right.
This was the biggest shock, I think. Of
really,
yeah.
Benetton 69, Cardiff 21, and the job was done up front initially, but I did not expect this. Like, teams have lost to Benetton. I get that. They're a decent outfit. They're strong. They do the basics well. They're probably not that expansive, but to have your pants pulled down like that, it was a buffet at the end. It was all you can eat. They totally lacked.
I think you're mixing
any commitment.
There, Shanks.
Mate, I'll tell you now. You said that, Shanks. You're saying that you're not surprised, but like that doesn't surprise me. Like we commentate them against Edinburgh, and I thought they were spineless that day, and that's a strong word. Like to go there last year's season and get 69 points put on you, and it looked like you're not even trying half the time. Like I've been involved in games end of season where there's nothing to play for. It's a dead rubber for you, but it's a dead rubber for Treviso as well, or Benetton, sorry. And I get it, they're at home and they're neat, but that is.
Look at the ease they score as well. Like defensively, they're all over the shop.
You won't see worse defense, worse endeavor in the league this year. That's for me the worst performance of any team in the league this year.
Yeah, it was it's certainly.
I've got to say, it's not outstanding, but what a difference for Benetton. I mean, isn't it great to see them, running, scoring, and certainly competing? We thought they were going to be whipping boys, but they've come back with some really good results.
Yeah, it's easy to say that when it's not against,
Cardiff
former team. Yeah, but I mean, defensively here, look, they're so tight. One ball over the top, and Rhino Smith is in. So yeah, a horrific way for Cardiff to end. And I mean, you don't see this very often, do you? A second row,
good effort,
inside his own half. Or
Shanks,
good, all the way.
Shanks, talk to me about Dai Young, because all we do is complain about the Dragons most weeks and about that they're not an improving side, and Dean Ryan seems to be under huge pressure. But let's be honest here, call it as it is. Since that Leinster win, Cardiff have probably been the worst team in the league.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. It was a big win. They beat Glasgow as well at home, which was a good win from. But
it's like a trading game.
I do think Dai is the right man for the job.
Why?
From my experience with him, from what I know he didn't win any silverware at Wasps, but from what he did with Wasps and the consistency they had, he's inherited a squad, Stevie. So he's still got a squad that it isn't his really. He's come in,
but that's an excuse every coach can have.
No, it's not. It's not. You think of coaches like Dean Ryan or Dan McFarland or any team that have coaches for a longer period. He came in, I think, halfway through last year, and because of COVID, they've had to sign an extra year on their deals for the pay cut. So it might take a bit of time. Unfortunately,
that seems wild. That deal they got, those Welsh boys. I don't know if any other teams did that. Where you got, I get it as a player, you're delighted, so you get an extra year's contract to take a pay cut. But the quality of the squad. Sorry, Shank, I'm not. It's not a witch hunt for Welsh rugby. I just think is it the squad then? If it's not that,
I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
There's too many alleged good players in that squad, and I don't think they're good. There's too many players that you wouldn't have. There's loads. There's loads. I can't name them. But
then I would say, I guess
you are.
Next year, they got Liam Williams coming in. They got
Toby Faletau coming in. Thomas Young which will strengthen the team.
But they're not going to get any power. They've got no power.
No, they don't. They don't. They need it.
I don't know where it's going for them.
They've got a second row coming in. So it's not a quick fix, unfortunately. And you need to get rid of the dead rubber before you can start planning. And maybe the players coming through aren't the quality that we want. And this is a bigger issue. We could do an hour on Welsh rugby, but let's keep it positive. Real bad end to the season for Cardiff. Edinburgh, Glasgow.
Good game.
Good being up BT Murrayfield.
I think so. I think I was been to the new stadium, the Dam. He's saying, and it's just I think it's been great for Edinburgh. I think it's a revenue thing for the unions, isn't it? Move it into the big stadium. Glasgow, you're talking about teams that have been on the decline. Glasgow's form has been poor. Good at the start of the year and just been on the decline as the year has gone on. I thought their senior players, probably minus, I'm not just saying this because my mate Ryan Wilson I thought played well. The senior players I thought were poor. In the game, you got Rob Harley,
rugby friends.
Rob Harley, you got 250 games, you're losing, 18-6. It's just madness. I think you play in Derby sometimes, and there's a big focus on the niggle or the physicality, and it looked like that's all they focused on was just being niggly, off the ball, pushing, and they just forgot to play rugby. I thought they were crap. You look at how they played, and Edinburgh could have put a few more by them. Edinburgh were by far the better team. You look at the draw now. It's funny. I don't know who. This is what's so interesting with League. I don't know who's. I don't think any team are happy, but would you rather travel to South Africa, for a quarterfinal? I know Leinster's not the other one you want to go to, but I guess you're looking at the Munster draw, Munster Ulster. They'll be happier than going to South Africa, I'd say, to go to Ulster.
Yeah.
It's a tricky dynamic. But I think Edinburgh. I think both Scottish teams are going to. Edinburgh might be able to pull a surprise over against the Storm. I doubt it. They'll have to play their best game of the year, but I don't think Glasgow have got a chance.
No, I mean, I think one of the things that we used to do studies on the Super Rugby, but we were traveling. It was very different. Traveling 8-9 hours change was that you had a much better chance in seasons where your final game was at home, and then if you qualified and your playoff game was at home, so you get that momentum and the rest, etc. Remember, Stormers came over and played here and then headed back. Sure, if they win, then they've got a quarter and then a semi at home, which is helpful. But it's certainly a lot of travel, regardless. No. I'm going to.
Backup's coming.
We're so immature.
So Edinburgh win the Shield.
Edinburgh won the Shield. Yeah, the big win. Celebrate.
They've got to get rid of the Shields next year, haven't they? You win top of your group, you're through. You can't have a bit of silver.
Save it for the run. I can't.
Okay. We'll save it for the run. But good end for Edinburgh. It's always a big game. It's always a big derby. Looked like there was a good crowd there.
Good crowd. Good game. Good game. But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
This was the big one. This was the big one, Stevie. Leinster, Munster at the Aviva. Leinster seconds versus Munster first. Yeah. Thoughts?
Well, before the teams were announced, everybody knew that the Leinster team were going to go light. They were going to rotate an awful lot. There's going to be massive changes. Well, a number of changes. And I still thought that Leinster were going to win. And then the teams were announced, and I was like, "Oh, flipping heck!" There's not a lot of experience in this squad. Munster are going to win. But then I went back on myself, and I sent through to Gavin Muldoon my top 4 predictions. My top 4 predictions were actually
Prove
right.
it, Stevie. Prove it, Stevie.
Okay. Hold on. I'll get it for the end of the show. But anyway, take nothing away from these Leinster players. They played some really good rugby. Kieran Frawley was awesome. Byrne at 10 controlled the game extremely well. Up front, they had the upper hand, and Munster got ahead in the game twice, but they couldn't keep control of the game. They were making schoolboy errors. Jordan Larmour was electric on his return from a long injury layoff. He got man of the match. And this Munster squad, there was only 2 or 3 players played really well, but I think it also showed you how much Munster rely on Peter O'Mahony. I would be one of Pete's critics about, the amount of times he goes down injured and the amount of times he's playing up to the camera.
Same position, that's why.
All the usual banter that I love to throw at him. But, he is an exceptionally good rugby player, and he's an exceptionally good leader for Munster. And when he's not playing, they're just a completely different side. And it doesn't matter if you have Carberry. I think Dale Ende as well, obviously in the centre. Chris Farrell played reasonably well. He didn't give up all night. Keith Earls didn't play particularly well. The back row with Kendellen, with missing Pete, it made such a huge difference. So yeah, really disappointing for Munster. But as you rightly said, Shanks, I think it's not a bad draw to go back to Ulster where they won only a few weeks ago.
Yeah, they'll be delighted, surely, to stay in Ireland for the quarterfinals. Will O'Mahony be back? You'd say he'd be fit for the quarterfinals.
Yeah, man of the match.
Could be.
I couldn't believe how lost Munster looked, especially in that sort of second half. There seemed to be, normally you have 3 or 4 phases, wouldn't you, of set piece, and you know exactly what you're doing. They were just throwing the ball around. No one really knew where to go, where to run. I think the Leinster defence was brilliant, superb. But I looked at the Munster attack and it just didn't function at all. It was predictable, one-up runners. And if you don't get over the gain line with carries like that, then you've got no chance and you have to kick. So quite disappointed I was with Munster. And I expected a little bit more for them. But then we also know how good Leinster are.
Yeah,
seconds, thirds. Fourths.
I think somebody who impressed me a lot was Ryan Baird. Obviously playing in the back row. He's a second row by trade. Played second row the whole way up through. I think he played a little bit in the back row and has played at 6 before for Leinster. But he's played for every game he's played for Ireland. He's been in the second row, and I think he's such a good athlete. There's another good athlete in Kieran Frawley. He's had his injury woes, a couple of bangs to the head, but he's definitely a certain guy to get onto that plane for the summer tour for Ireland as well. So these young lads are just being churned out week in and week out. Scott Penny as well, maybe a little bit small in stature, but he tackles his heart out. He carries the ball extremely well. Max Deegan also, he was out this end of last season with an ACL injury. He's come back again, another unbelievable athlete. So unfortunately for all the rest of the teams, Leinster are just have so many really good players at their disposal and able to rotate so much as well, which keeps everybody healthy and breeds really good competition throughout the squad as well.
There was an epic game in Galway, Connacht 22, Zebra 20. Anyone watch it?
No.
I don't know why we're laughing, because we normally watch all the games, but it was actually a lot closer than I thought. I really thought this would be a huge score for Connacht, but didn't prove to be. Zebra
on the up.
Is it Zebra or Zebra? I never know. I just copy Eddie Butler.
What is he? Zebra, I say.
Zebra.
Zebra.
But he likes to overpronounce, anything with the accent.
Zebra.
Yes. And I don't know if you saw any of the Dragons Lions game.
I'll give it up. I turned it on. I promise you, I turned it on for 10 minutes, and I thought I cannot watch one more minute of Dragons playing this season. It's just so bad.
Edwill van der Merwe did a really good try celebration. He did like a little bit of kind of stuff I would do, like just pushing yourself up and moving around on your body, using your hands, your legs in the air. It was really cool. And honestly, I thought after Rio Dyer's first try, I thought, this is it. Bobby's former team. This is going to be their only win at home this season. But
the only team to never have won a home game all year. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. In the history of the Pro 12, Pro 14, and URC.
History of rugby ever.
Web Ellis.
We were talking about it on the edge of the field, Barks, and we were saying, when you sit down and you're having a tough season, you always sort of look and you say, "Oh, well, that's okay. We've got those 4 home games. We'll be good on those ones. We're okay." Yeah. And then you sort of you backwards from there. That's the base, and then you look at it going forward, and then they've gone and said, "Oh, okay. Well, that easy one. Oh, that's gone. Hang on, we've got another. But don't worry, because the end of the season, it's Zebra, so we'll definitely pick up a win, and we'll get our fans back next season wiped out.
I'll tell you what sums up their season.
And then the Lions just dominate.
Josh Lewis gets an intercept, and he's got enough pace to get there. He's getting chased, so he has to sort of veer out towards the touchline a little bit. He's got loads of room, but he dives early, right? And you've seen it before, and the ball comes undone. Because it was like great conditions. If it was wet, he just would have slid in. But but he dives too early. The ball bounces out. It's a knock on. And you're thinking, that's just that's sums up their season. So
surface looked good there at Rodney Parade, eh?
Yeah. Don't matter
one of the great world stadiums.
Doesn't matter.
Season ticket sales apparently are going very well.
Newport. Yeah.
Well, that's Welsh rugby, mate, all over. We're going nowhere fast, I don't think.
What's going to happen in the summer? Talk.
Shanks is going into the CEO job from his son. He's just going to rule the roost.
No, thank you. I wouldn't wish that my worst enemy, Bob. I think it's going to be I think what will happen? I think the first game against South Africa, they'll be well beaten. The second game, they'll front up and get beaten. And the third one, they'll get beaten. I think... Just when you need a bit of confidence and you want to tour like
to Georgia,
Romania, Georgia, Canada. We've got the world champs.
We'll go to Fiji. That'll get the confidence up. Then everyone gets food.
Yes.
Fiji. That's the way it goes.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, don't know what's going to happen, but there's no quick fix. And
right,
let's not talk about it. Let's keep it positive. Let's talk about the fixtures, the playoffs. So, Ulster Munster, that is on Friday, the 3rd of June. All games are obviously live. Watch, subscribe, enjoy here on Premier Sport. Stephen, can Ulster do it? Will Ulster do it?
Yeah, I think they will. I think that defeat to Leinster, like there's been a lot of hype in the media back home here about it probably was a little embarrassing, like to be beaten really well by a Leinster second/third string team, and for Munster to nearly have the full troops out. I know missing a couple of lads. So either there's going to be a bit of a backlash, they draw a line in the sand, they move on, they take a lot out of the game in Belfast that they won a couple of weeks ago. But I just feel that Ulster, if it's a half decent night, we'll go back to their maul, we'll go back to the basics, try and punch holes with McCluskey, get Balogun on the ball as much as possible, as John alluded to, that the offloading game will come. And they can be very dangerous. So, yeah, I just think that Ulster will sneak that one against Munster.
See when Ulster that extra pass. I don't know. It seemed like at the weekend there was. I'm probably going back to go forward here, but when the forwards are putting in those extra passes, there's so much a better team. When they just try and go route one and just carry it, they don't have the pack to do that. So I don't know why they try, but when they have that, you see Leinster doing it, you see Ireland doing it. The best teams are able to, catch and pass on the gain line, and that's for me what separates them on the weekend. Yeah,
but the reason they were able to do that, John, against the Sharks so much was because the Sharks' defence, it was getting up hard on the outside, but it wasn't getting up particularly hard in the middle of the pitch. So like those tip-on passes were on all day. Like there was a couple of times, they were getting up off their feet and just coming up straight in the line, but they weren't looking inside them. There was maybe a 10-yard gap inside them, and getting up, need to close, be connected in their defensive line. The Sharks were so all over the place in their defence, and Ulster capitalised on that, and I think that's what the message was. As the game went on, that they get change the point of contact and try and punch those small 2 or 3 yard holes at times, and it's great that Tom O'Toole, the tight head prop, I thought scrummed really well. He's able to tip it on. Alan O'Connor can do it very well. Ian Henderson as well. So they do have the skill set to execute it. But I think other defenses will get up a lot harder and make those just straight one-out runners, and they'll probably get smashed a lot more in the gain line.
Second playoff game: Bulls versus Sharks. Bobby, Loftus Versfeld. Altitude, that is, John. I know you can work out halfway through the season.
I don't think
halfway through the season, what teams play where. How do you see that one, Bob? Bulls got a big enough pack, strong enough to do it?
Bulls have probably got the edge at the moment, but the Sharks are a good side, and they have had some good results against the Bulls of late. I mean, in the internal rounds, they had wins, home and away. I think it's a really tight one. It depends if the Springboks really turn up. The Bulls have got some older Springboks and some Springboks to be. The Sharks are probably are made up of current Springboks. So if you think about Am and Khaleesi and those kind of guys, Bongi and Banambi need to play a bit better. So I would say Bulls by a point or two, but the Sharks could turn it on. They're a quality side, the Sharks, when they get going.
John, do Glasgow have any chance whatsoever in beating Leinster?
No.
Okay.
No, I just can't see it. I just think
Glasgow is a red card or something.
Maybe that's the best. But I think, I just think Glasgow's form is dipped, as we spoke about earlier, and I think Leinster I don't know how they do it. They just seem to peak at the right time. Well, they peak all year really, but they manage their squad well. They change it around they balance it for whether it's Champions Cup or the league, and they just look unstoppable at the moment. So I can't see past Leinster, and that's why I just don't think Glasgow have got a shot.
Same with Edinburgh in the Stormers, John?
I'll go for the Stormers again, but I think there's more of a chance of an upset I think there's a good feel in the Edinburgh squad. I think they had a disappointing result against Ulster a few weeks ago, and then a good win there against Glasgow at the weekend. So I think there's a chance for Edinburgh, but I think both teams are up against it, given where they're going to and the quality that they're up against. And I just think the Stormers, for me, one of the teams, I said it time and time again, the team I probably enjoy watching the most. They score tries from nowhere. The players they've got in the back line, Evan Lewis at number 8, they've got quality team throughout.
Yeah. You agree, Bob? Yep.
Yeah, if I could just jump in 2 seconds. I think that you're right, John. I think the Stormers are fun to watch. I do think they have to tighten up the loose bits. You know, they've given away a few intercepts. They've messed up a few sure things. But wow, they are a team for the future. They've got a really young, pacey backline. I love Russ. I think he's a seriously good player. They've got Dion Ferry there, the old workhorse at 37, 38 years old. I mean, he's got the most turnovers of the season. So if they can get that balance right, they will be tough to beat at home, which means that they should have a real chance of going through and holding on into a semi. We'll see how it goes.
Are there any other rants of the week you've got apart from teams having to have photos with a shield?
You just can't. You cannot have silverware for finishing 8th place. It just can't be a thing. You just take those down and chuck them down the street somewhere, and they'll find another pile of hubcaps at the end of the street. Just leave them off. Like, it was embarrassing for players and the league, I think.
To be fair, it's not their fault.
It's not their fault.
It's just the way. Yeah.
Do you remember in the sequel to Meet the Fockers when they went into the house and he had all the badges on the wall, and they're like, "Oh wow, I didn't realize you're an athlete. Didn't realize you were such an athlete." And you go close, it's like, and for coming 13th in the race, becoming 19th. You know, well done. I mean, you got it on your wall. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, well done, Gaylord. What's his name? Steve, you got any rants or not?
No more rants. No.
Okay, right. Presenter's choice. We'll move on. Presenter's choice. Do we have any presenter's choice this week? Let's have a look if producer Colin gets it on. The moment you realise you're finished. The team you hate the most. The biggest ego in the dressing room. Take your pick, boys. The moment you realised you were finished.
There's when the pandemic happened. That was the end.
I was having a chat with. I wanted to have a little chat with Warren Gatland as to why I was on the bench, and I went into his suite in the Vale Hotel, and he invited me in, and I walked through the kitchen and walked into the lounge area at the back, and the door opened, and Jamie Roberts was stood there, dripping wet in a towel. I went, "All right, Shanks." I went, "Oh. Yeah." Politics. That's what I put it down to.
We went away, and I was part of the Sharks team, and the Bulls players made the makeup of the Springboks, and they were all sitting in a corner, and they said we'd been at a World Cup or whatever, and Farid Dupre said, "You know, we could do this again." And he looked around the room and he goes, "Except you, Bob." I was like, "No, you're probably right."
I remember Matthew Rees, former hooker, right? He captained Wales a few times, and it was in 2010. We were playing the All Blacks. And he was trying to like motivate the team, and he was going, "Look, boys, this could be the last game someone like Shanks is going to play. You know, you just don't know what's around the corner. You just don't know." I'm sat there like this, 30, mate, 30 years old. There's loads of like, and he was actually right. But it was down to injury. You know that I would have had 150 caps. Stevie,
boys, I love you. I've got to go because I can't get another train out of Altrincham.
Love is a strong word, Bob. Bob, we like you a lot. And
I'll see you on the weekend, and thanks for having me. Circle of Trust, Bob. I've noticed Circle of Trust, Bob.
Well, there's a reason, Bob, when you leave early.
Well, I didn't have the rant from Shanks to talk about it, but it's been a privilege to share the screen with you guys. Thanks very much.
No worries, Bobby. Bob.
See you.
Thanks. Kiss ass.
He's a prick, isn't he?
Yeah.
Can we put the percentage choices back up?
I'm trying to think of somebody with a big ego in the dressing room. Like usually anybody with a big ego in a rugby dressing room, you kind of get on pretty well with, and they're like,
it's bullied out of them, isn't it?
Yeah, like You
played with Mike Phillips, Shanks. He was a big. Sure, there's
a
number of stories I've heard about him, but everyone loved it. And all the big egos, people love those guys in the squad. Or Haskell, Haskell in the Lions tour. Rory Best, he saw he got pulled in for Billy Vanapola, and he thought, this is going to be a disaster in 8 weeks. He said, tidy mates now. So
yeah. And like, if someone's got a big ego but they're quality players as well, like, you can accept that, can't you? It's when they think they're chocolate and they're not. Yeah, but Henson was a weird one. Like, great bloke, great player, but just the whole process of getting ready was bizarre. You know, like having to have a compression top because he didn't like his wrists and spiking his hair. And
is that true?
All the time, yeah. Honestly,
I heard that rumor.
Yeah,
Bernard Jackman tells a good story that so he had like a garden shed out the back, and in the shed he had like locusts or like different insects because he was eating them because it was going to make him a better rugby player. So like he had so like he was like getting these insects to mate in his garden shed, and then he was putting them
together like this, like milking a stallion,
and then knocking over the head with a hammer and putting it in his protein shake. Any truth in it, Shanks? No.
No,
just making that up.
I don't know. No idea, mate. No idea. Sounds great, so we'll say it's true. Anyway, right. We're digressing. That is it. It's been quite a long show. It's been nearly 50 minutes. Don't forget you can watch every game in the playoffs, every minute on URC, on Premier Sports. We're not sure when we'll be on, but we will be on soon. Stay tuned and we'll hopefully see you next week, the week after, sometime soon. What a poor end that.